recording. Hi, this is Jan Guarino, and you're in Fearless Watercolors. And tonight we're going to be doing a portrait of a friend of ours. He's a recording artist here on the island. You could hear him finger picking in the background. I have permission to not just play his music while we are in this class, but also to paint him with this really great photo that I just fell in love with. So that's what we're doing tonight. Have a scrap piece of paper going, and I'm going to switch cameras and show you what we're doing. So there we are. This is Howie Emerson. He is a Long Island, Huntington star. People who know him of him and his amazing abilities. I actually listened to him years ago, not knowing it was him, but I was a big Eric Anderson fan, and he played on Eric Anderson's, well, at the time they were albums, but now they're, CDs, or not even anymore. You stream everything. I wanted to run by you just on a piece of scrap paper, okay? Our complementary colors. So we have red and green, because that's how we're going to do this. We're going to do this in complementary colors. We have red and green, right? We have blue and orange, and we have yellow and violet. And so I would just like for you guys to weigh in which of those three combinations you think would work best with this photograph. Don't be shy. No takers, huh?
Anything other than red and green.
Okay, good point. Good point, Nancy. Thank you. Yes, I agree. Red and green would not be one of the ones that I would choose for this particular portrait. And in fact, it really is going to be, and even though there's a lot of warmth in here, I would consider it more orange. So I'm going to say blue and orange is going to be our color combination for skin tones. And you might say blue, Jan? Yeah, blue is a really good one. And if you, somebody was making mention earlier, Allison and Denise, of that painting I did of the Black woman, that was done in three colors. I think it was violet, orange, and turquoise. So yeah, it's a good way to go. So let's spray our colors down. Predominantly dragon's blood, our oranges, and our blues are going to be what we're going to be using. Maybe a little violet. I'd be hard pressed not to paint with a little violet here and there. So I'll activate my violets too. And of course, that's my water bottle with just a little bit of gum arabic in it to activate my paints. So if we were to take, of course, I would be hard pressed to not paint a portrait in my beloved dragon's blood. But what if we were to tone it down with a little bit of, let me go a little closer for you guys. And where am I? Hold on. There we are. What if we were to tone that color down with a little bit of our blue? Now, you could try that color with a little bit of cobalt. That's cobalt. That worked well. Maybe you want to try it with a little bit of ultramarine. That works well too. They really both turn it down. I would not use cerulean in this case because cerulean tends to granulate. So, so here is a little bit of, that's how I'm going to get the colors. And with either ultramarine or cobalt, or you could even use a turquoise, which is what we did with the Ruth Bader Ginsburg painting. We used those two colors there. So, so I think any of those would give us a good skin tone plus a nice shadow. And so that's how I want to build most of the painting tonight. Okay, turn a little bit more light on this. Okay, it's not going on. Oh, there it goes. Okay, good. So that's how I'm thinking of doing this. So I don't want to use brown or black. And in fact, if I decide to add a little bit of violet to it, That's just sitting right next to our blue, right? That's right next to our blue. So we're able to even give it a little bit more of another tone with a little bit of violet. So that's what I'm thinking, a violet. That's got a little dirty because I've had a little violet, a little bit of dragon's blood, and a blue, whether you want to use your turquoise or ultramarine or cobalt. And of course, we can charge a little cobalt into our turquoise as well, because they sit next to each other on the color wheel. But these are complementary colors. So when they touch, right, when these two colors touch, they sort of start canceling out each other and they start giving you more of a muted tone, which is really how we want to do our shadows. So I think it's going to be really, really beautiful. So that is tonight's MO. And so I am working on my 300-pound hot press. I do have, it's an eighth of a sheet. I'm not working very large, sort of on the smaller side. There is Howie. Howie will be playing in the background while we paint, and I will be sharing this with him when we're done. And in fact, also, I did get permission from the photographer to paint this, to use her photograph. So I was able to get that permission as well. So the light is coming from the right side. So that tells me I could go very light on the right side and I can charge up the other side of his face. So I have about a number 10. I'm going to get actually a smaller brush also ready to go. And like a number 6, have that ready to go. And probably a really small brush like a 0. So I'm going to have a couple brushes ready to rock and roll. And we're not going to be doing all of Howie's guitars in the background. We'll just be handling maybe the 2 and the suggestion of the one that he's rested on. I got rid of the hand and his lap and all of that, which really didn't do much for the actual photograph in terms of a painting. So that's just a great lesson, that just because it's there doesn't mean you have to paint it. So let's go ahead and let's start easy. Let's start with his hat. Now, one of the things that I talk about is the fact that his band is very dark. The band on his hat is dark, right? Yes. But we don't have to paint around it. And that's something that I find a lot of artists really struggle with. They save the darks. So I say, don't save the darks, paint the darks, because we could build the darks. And since the light is coming from this side here, I'm going to make this up a little bit, and I'm just going to feather out that side of the hat. Very basic watercolor technique is just doing a light gradation. I'm charging up that left side of the hat, and right now I am going to add some of my blue right on top of it. And I'm going to let it all mix right on the paper. Look how quickly I have that feeling of light and shadow. Now here's the trick, guys. If this goes, let me go a little closer for you. If this goes a little too blue for you, add a little bit more of your dragon's blood. If it goes too orange and you want to deepen it, go ahead and add a little bit more of your blue, and it'll just deepen it. And that's how I get that feeling of things happening. We'll do the band in a while. It's just a little too wet right now. Now's not the time to do the band because it's a very dry mark that I want to do there. And there's that little indentation in the hat on that right side. And there's one on this side too. And this corner, I really want this to go even darker than I see it on the photo. Really dark. So I call this charging up this corner to go super dark. Okay, back out. That's where I'm at. Now I don't want to stop there. I want to keep going down into the face. So I'm going to, let me go closer and show you this. With a little bit of my brush, with a little bit of water, I want to invite some of that paint to come right now into his face. That's the other side of his hat. So I'm just keeping that a very soft introduction. Now just charging that up with a little bit more of my dragon's blood in here. Now I am going around his sunglasses a little bit because I want to have a little bit of the rim in spots a little lighter. Some highlights and whatnot. So I didn't mask that stuff, but I can start introducing some of the dragon's blood into his face. And now right in this corner here, I'm adding my blue. Right now. There's no better time to do this than right now because you won't have the guts to do it later on. Feathering this out over into the part where the light is hitting his face. No better time to get that nice dark. Goes a little blue, so be it. Make sure I have a little bit more light on it. Yeah, it looks like a big blue blotch. Don't worry about it. We have lots of colors in our face, so let's not worry about that. I'm going around his glasses right now, and I'm going to be using that same blue and the dragon's blood, just to start getting a little bit of color in there. No better time to do that than right now. Little bit of a rim that just saves a little bit of the sunglasses from the rest of his face. And if it bleeds out, don't worry about it. It's not the end of the world. It really isn't. It may seem like you need to control every single little aspect of this portrait, but I assure you that you do not. See a nice shadow right here? That's my blue. Feathering it out to a nice highlight on his cheek right there. And then we come to his mustache and beard, which will be indicating a little bit more with some color, just a bit. So feathering going on. And fortunately, you don't know Howie, so you don't have to be nervous about him liking your portrait. Mostly what happens is we get really, really nervous when we start painting someone we know. And we tighten up and we lose all sense of everything that we learned. Happens all the time. And so this is just a really wet into wet wash everywhere that I'm putting this. That's the brim of his hat. I'm going to back out and show you how quickly something like this can really start talking. Just have some soft edges coming over his forehead for now. We'll go back into doing a little bit more of that because, I mean, he's not a young guy, you know. I was going to say new guy. He's not a young guy. Going to come down his nose. Nose is really tough There's a shadow side. There's a brim, right? Fortunately, here the brim is where the sunglasses are, so we have less of that to worry about. To the pinch of the nose, underneath the nostrils. You have to use a smaller brush. We're not working terribly large here. And again, we have the white of his mustache and goatee beard. I'm not sure what it is. Don't be afraid to use your blue in the shadows. That's key. It's really a big part of this. And the more you use, the more exciting the painting is going to be. Sometimes these little brushes hold so much water. So mostly we get nervous when we are, when it's someone that we know. I know Howie, I don't know him that well. I'm not really nervous at all. So don't you be nervous. The brim of the nose, even if you don't see it, always has, which is the closest where the two eyes are, always has a bit of a bit of a shadow there. It's something that most people miss very easily. Back out, show you where I'm at. Okay. I'm feathering over to the other side of his face, just lightly. Going back to my dragon's blood to get the other cheek, suggestion of it. It's really kind of coming from underneath his glasses there and a little bit under his nose. Most people try too hard with noses, so they get a little lost. It is so true. I see it all the time. We will address this mustache and all of that stuff going on under his lip and all of that in just a little bit. I just want to get the other sunglass here, starting with, again, a little bit of the brim and all the reflections. Now that that's wet, I can go in and drop my blue in. Just let it interact and start deepening. And in fact, not a bad time maybe to try and add a little bit of my turquoise. I'm sorry, I added the turquoise. I added my blue. So I'm adding a little bit of violet right now. That looks good. Check that out. Now I really want to do that on the other one, but it's a little wet, so I'm going to wait a little bit to go in and do that. Yeah, I like that. I'm just going to add a little bit of color, just a little tint of the dragon's blood on the other side of the face. Just a little bit. Suggest the ear. And down the side of his face. Just going to work around I want to get the other side of the hat, and then we'll do his lips. If you're going to do a bigger area, switch your brush and go to your larger brush. Get a nice shadow in here. Little suggestion of his ear. And again, your blue in some nice deep shadowy areas of the hat. I'm not pre-mixing anything. I'm mixing everything right on the paper, because I can adjust exactly what's happening. If I see it's going to orange, I add a little blue. If it's going to blue, I add a little orange. It's a nice way to paint. And I'm going to melt this mark right into here, just to create a little bit more of a shadow across the brim of his hat. So I'll create the shadow with a little bit more turquoise, a little bit more blue. That's the blue I chose is turquoise. Not what you might expect, but wow, it's happening. It's happening right in front of us. And some of these marks, by the way, can just fade away. They don't have to be so hard, right? We can just softly let some of these marks just be soft. Now keep an eye on things, because as they're drying, you may find that things dry a little bit lighter than you want. And so what you need to do is just make sure you add, you charge it up with some color. So look at this side now, because it's wet and I just did it, looks darker than the other side. That just tells me that we'll need to go back in on the other side and give it some more color. I'm going to go in and do his lips right now. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to suggest the white mustache and beard. So this is the center of his lips right here. Definitely darker on the left side. And just a little bit of color. Just a little bit. And it's a little bit under his chin, right? And his goatee beard, whatever it is, sort of kind of comes down low. And so we want to get some color into that. Yeah, that looks a little scary. I just dropped that turquoise on the side of his face. I am not worried, because I know that just with a little bit of my orange, it's going to tone it down and make it look like a shadow. It's going to be really good. Really didn't do anything with the beard or mustache yet, but I want to come around to the neck, which is really going to be important. And then we'll go back in and do his facial hair. This will help. So any place you want a shadow, be sure you add both colors. And there's the collar on both sides. And there's a great shadow right here. Okay. This is like, it has a bump to it, which tells me there's a lot of moisture in the paint, in the paper. So I could just kind of go in and start deepening this a little bit. It's pretty dry. It's just a little damp. So I'm going back in and I'm going to just come down to his ear and that dark side of his hat and go really darker with that. Building the shadow, building the nice deep darkness of it. Now's a good time to do it. It is a little damp on this side, but I've got good stuff going on. I could feel that it's okay to do it. It's not terribly, terribly wet. The more fearless you could be with the blue, the more dramatic the painting is going to be. And of course, that's what we like to see. We like to see a boldness and we don't want to see a hesitancy or, being overly cautious. We really want to go for it. Go a little closer. It might take a little longer to keep going back and forth and getting both of your colors. But I don't like mixing it, pre-mixing it and having a whole pile of that color available. It just seems to me not as interesting as sort of finding the color as you go along and discovering it as you go along. And Howie's CD, I'll just put it in focus for you. I have no idea what that word is. Italian kid, the Italian kid, if you're interested. Howard Emerson. This is really dry up here, so I could sort of start this band. That's my turquoise. This is what I mean. Don't save your darks, build them. And this is why. Now, if you put all three of your colors into that band, it's going to be a really beautiful dark, but not black, like a kind of dead kind of color, but very much alive. I'm going to invite this to come over to the other side. And now that it's wet, I could just drop in some color into it. I'm going to do the same thing with the sunglasses now. I'm going to go in and go really dark because it's dry. Save those whites, those beautiful reflections. I do like the idea of some of those other colors sort of showing through on the sunglasses. It's not just one color. So the fact that I see a little bit of the blue and a little bit of the dragon's blood, I think that that's really good. And it's so much easier to do this when you don't know the person and you have nothing to lose, which is a good place to start. Just do the brim if you know it's dry. I'm going to try to keep it close so that you guys can see the marks that I'm doing. Sometimes things dry a little bit lighter than you want, like right under here. Dried a little lighter than I need. I need it to be a little bit darker. Now you don't have to go around the whole nostril, right? That little pinch right there is really kind of all you need. Let me back out and show you what I mean. That little pinch there and the little shadow, and you don't have to do both nostrils. Everybody knows we have two nostrils. You don't have to do both of them. There's certain things that you could give your viewer credit for, knowing that they could fill in some of the blanks for you. So the next thing I'm going to want to do is the mustache and beard with you guys. Okay, that'll be next. Sort of seeing that this could go a little bit darker up here with the brush. So, you know, we know watercolors dry lighter than we want, so you have to keep an eye on them to make sure that you keep charging them to be the color you want it to be. Okay, that's where we're at so far. I'll zoom in so that you can see it a little straight on. So that's where we're at right now. I wanted to zoom in straight down so that we could do a little bit of the beard. And so what we want to do is just give it a little bit of a shadow on one side, right? A little bit of a shadow. And what we're going to do is I'm going to take a very fine little brush. This is like a 0. And it's only a 0 because I'm working, well, because we're going in and doing something so fine here. And what I just did was I sort of mixed a little bit of my dragon's blood and a little bit of my turquoise on my brush at the same time. And what I'm going to do, guys, is just start suggesting some very, very fine little marks. These have to be so fine and so light. You could even add a little bit of your violet if you want to. Very, very, very light. Little squiggles. Can you see them appearing? Very, very faint, very light. Make no pattern with them, absolutely no pattern. But maybe what you want to do is put a little bit on the top and maybe just a little on the bottom. Okay, you don't have to carry it all the way through. Very, very light. If you don't like your mark, just take it and melt it a little bit. Okay, that's what you have to do, is just take it and melt it and feather it up and feather it down a little bit. Less is more, guys. Less is more. Less is more. You don't have to describe every single part of this for somebody to understand what's going on here. I remember I was doing a portrait of a baby one time, and you know, this is pretty much the same kind of delicate approach that I did with the hair. Very subtle, very light, little rivers. If you can't mix this color, what I would suggest is just go in and get some palette mud. Palette mud just is what is in my palette. I don't clean my palette because there's such good stuff in there. Sort of lost the side of his mouth. One side, that left side, is darker than the right. Real delicate. And less is more. Let's not even go through too much of this, because to me, the one side says it and the other side being white, I don't think we have to go all that far into doing that, right? I really don't think so. I think we're okay. But I do want to go a little darker right under here. Sort of lost his brim a little bit. I'm just going to take my flat brush and just go through it. You don't have to do this now. I just want to show it to you on the recording so you could go back and get it back if you lost yours also.
Dan, can I just ask you a question?
Sure, of course.
What did you use on his beard? What did you use?
The same three colors. Now, if you don't have, you know, if it's hard to mix those, what you could do is just go in and get a little palette mud.
Okay.
But it's the same three colors.
So you
Same
didn't
three
use, like,
colors.
indigo in there or any of that? No.
No, no indigo. No indigo. It's the blue, it's the dragon's blood, and it's the violet.
Thank you.
So Yeah, same. I think that if you went to indigo, it would just be too dark. I don't think it would really enhance it too much. So I wouldn't do that. It's a very subtle. In fact, I'll go a little closer so you could kind of see these colors here are really just all the same colors. They're all the same, just kind of lightly riveted around and whatnot. That's a little bit of the blue. Just carrying it around a little bit. Yeah, I like that. I like that little blue right there. And notice, guys, that I did not distinguish where his head ends and his hat begins, or his hat ends and his head begins. Not necessary. Totally does not matter. I just put that all in shadow. So those are just some lost edges that you really can have very easily on your painting, and it doesn't have to be there. In fact, I like it better that I didn't. I knew I wanted to do that too, by the way. Even the top of his, look at this, the top of his sunglasses here just went into the dark abyss. We don't really need to know more than that. And I think that for now, I really feel like I'm done with him, and I can't do much more until I know what the rest of the painting is going to be, right? It's very, very hard to know where to go from here without the rest of the painting. So that's where we need to go next, guys. Is the rest of the painting before we can't say he's done for you. Don't overwork him. We're going to go back to him for sure. I know we are, but we have to get some washes to put him in his environment. And until we do that, he's just this, you're going to overwork him. So let's take a bigger brush. I have my number 10 here. Maybe I think the number 10 will be good. Okay. So I do want to hold on to a really nice highlight around his hat. So same colors, that's my dragon's blood. Don't worry about guitars. Don't worry about anything in the background. We're just adding a little bit of a wash right now. And that is straight dragon's blood right now. Now make the determination whether or not you want the background to go lighter or darker on this. So what I'm thinking is, and you're probably going to follow suit, is I'm thinking darker on the side that's light and then lighter on the side that's dark. And I think that would be is it what the photograph says? Absolutely not. Do I care? You guys know the answer to that one. I do not care what the photo says. That's what I want to do. So I think it would look really good if we do that. Don't worry about guitars. Don't worry about anything just yet. So now I added the dragon's blood. Now I'm going to go in and add my blue. Again, I'm not worried about guitars. I'm not worried about anything yet. And all I'm doing now is I'm charging up that background to really make it dramatic. And I'm going to add a little bit of my violet to really help it along. And you could tilt your paper a little bit to help some of the paint move around a little bit. So as you charge it here, it should just move around. Beautiful flow of color. Now, see, now that that's darker, I feel like inside of here could go darker. That's why I don't want you to feel like you're finishing anything up, because I really can't consider anything finished until we add the dark of his shirt. There's so much to do before we say, oh, his face is done. And as the color moves across, it's weakening, so you need to charge it up. These are the things that I want you to think about when you do your own portraits. If it's not moving, tilt it and drop a little bit of water in and let it sort of start moving for you. Now, if you want this corner to go super dark, which I think I do, I'm going to drop a little bit of indigo right here to go super dark, add lots of drama, and maybe a little bit to the peak of his hat right there. And let it spread out, let it move on its own. Yeah, I like where this is going. I'm sort of patient, and I wait to see what the color is going to do and how it's going to move, and just kind of wait and see. I don't move it with my brush. I just tap it with a little bit more color and with a little bit of water and a little bit of color and some gravity. I wait to see what's going to happen. Now, also, remember, you have your spray bottle. If you want to just tap it with a little bit of your spray bottle and have it move, that's kind of fun too. Of course, your desk gets all wet, like my desk is getting very wet. That really looks dramatic to me. Tells me that I have to go darker in certain areas, but basically, I could tell where I'm going. Now, the other side, I'm going to go much lighter, which tells me I want this to be as dark as that. This side can go as light as that side. That's where I'm going with this. I just think it's a fun way to sort of approach this painting. Just adding water, 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 water. Very, very feathery touch. in the wet area here, I'm adding that blue. I switched my orange to a lighter orange, the schmenky orange, just to give it a little bit more shift in color. I'll have to see if I like that. I think I like it. The dragon's blood is a much more dramatic, that's the dragon's blood, much deeper, cooler orange. The schmenky orange is a much warmer and lighter orange. When I do a background like this, like in the moment, I really don't want to see any water. I don't want to see any brush marks. Something's telling me to go darker in this corner here. Intuition, I'm not really sure what it is, but something's saying go darker in this corner. You may not, you may choose not to. I'm just following my own intuition here. This is wet enough that I could move my brush down and let it move down a little bit. I like where it's going. Totally see going darker in here, but let it dry and let's see what it looks like dry, right? Next thing is going to be his shirt and that final guitar, a little bit of his arm there. So his shirt, yes, I know it's black. I don't use black, but I think the combination of all the colors that we use will really do a beautiful job. And you may want to add a little bit more of the indigo to do this, right? A little bit more of the indigo. And, if you have, that's the collar there. I'm just giving it a little bit of water. All the colors, but let's start off with indigo and drop this in. Now, remember the Memori indigo is really very warm and it does move really beautifully. Now his neck is dry, so I can come up to that and not worry about it bleeding out. Now, you gals know that any black some blacks are bluer, some blacks are purplier, right? There's all different blacks. So that's why when I do my black, I drop in a lot of different colors. So that is my violet that I just dropped in. And I'm going to drop in some dragon's blood too, because some blacks just have that in it. That's a nice deep inky color. Okay, I'll do the other side. Start with your indigo. listen, if you're not up to this, don't rush it. You're going to get the recording and you'll be able to get up to this. So don't feel like you have to stay with me on this, okay? If you're not there, don't go there. Just stay where you are. If you're still in your background, fine. I just want to be sure that I get everything that you need recorded to do this. I do realize I'm a very fast painter. Now I'm going to river this. I'm going to river some of this to go into his shirt, leaving little white highlights. Okay, let me go a little closer and show you. See how I just added a little bit of water here to let this color kind of seep into, his guitar band there. And if you just leave a couple little white marks, it will delineate where the shirt is and where the collar is. Please don't feel you have to be where I am. I will send you the final painting and the recording, which you can pause and go into anytime. Just want to show you how I'm getting there. First, I have my indigo, then I'm adding my violet. And then finally, my dragon's blood. And each time I'm using a lot more paint than I am water. So it goes nice and dark. Inviting some of the color to come in. Just lost my button. Oh well, I had a button there. Indigo. Violet. And dragon's blood. Back out, show you where I'm at. The guitar strap. And then the rest of his arm over here. Don't want you rushing, so just take your time and be where you are. Colors are really mixing nicely. I guess my signature is not going in that corner. It happens. And I'm thinking, although again, I don't see it on the photograph, I'm thinking it might be really nice to have sort of white highlights hitting that side of his shirt. It takes sometimes a little bit of imagination to do this. But I think it adds nice drama, and it matches the side of his face and the side of his hat. So I'm thinking that it makes sense. Just want you to like have some insight into what I'm thinking and why I'm doing what I'm doing. Not that I'm just doing it and you're just following along, but I have reasons, and I want you to understand those reasons, because you may agree with them, you may not agree with them. It may be what you want, it may not be what you want. And those are the decisions that we get to make on our paintings. So, a photographer took the time to light this, and, all the things that happened while this Photoshop was, the photo, the sitting, the photography was happening. You get to decide what you want to do in your moment on your painting. Photo shoot, that's what I was looking for. I don't know why I couldn't find the word. Just pushing that shadow of his collar a little bit more. Now you can see, as I'm building the darks here, how much darker his sunglasses need to go, right? They just need to go darker. The band on his head, on his hat, the side of his face here needs to go darker. We could not see that before. I couldn't see it. It wasn't there. It didn't exist. There was nothing to compare our portrait to. There was nothing there for us. So we just had to get to this place, and that's why I didn't want you overworking your painting on him until you got more of the painting done, more of the background, his shirt certainly. That indigo is doing a really good job. All those colors sort of together, really making the nice dark here. Now there's something a little tricky going on in this corner here. The guitar sort of goes into shadow. So what I want to do is I want to start inviting some of that color to come into the part of the guitar that's there. I'll show you how I'm going to do that. Go a little closer for you guys. This is my dragon's blood. I still turn red. They run my head, yes, it's true. I burned some down. So that's my dragon's blood. We're not going to get into all the details of the guitar because I cropped it out. That's my dragon's blood. If you see a line there, drop more color in so you don't have to have that showing. Okay. Now it goes darker. So I'm going to add a little bit of violet here. I want to start inviting this color to go darker and more into shadow. If we stopped right now, we would know this is a guitar, right? I'm adding my violet to the bottom just to throw it more in shadow. And add to the drama. Back out, show you where I'm at. Oops, wrong way, sorry. And really, that little rim that we left there, the little light rim, really does say that beautiful shape of a guitar so nicely. And I'm going to drop indigo over in this corner and just lose that mark. Here's the thing, guys. We don't have to define it all. We have enough without having to go in there and say, we need to tell you where the guitar ends and where it starts and everything else. The truth is we don't have to do anything remotely like that. And I think it's much more interesting to make it painterly and lose all of those marks. And wherever I could lose a mark in anything, portrait, any painting, I want to lose a mark. I want to go soft with it. And now we're starting to see how much lighter this is all drying and how much darker we could go if we wanted to. I'm just feathering some of these marks out a little bit. This is kind of telling to me because I could really see where I need to go with it, where I want to add darks. That's why not to, oh, I'm going to finish this before I go any further. That's what we don't want to do. We don't want to say, oh, let me finish this and then I'll go on to the next thing. Not really, not what I want to do, not the way I want to paint. I need to see it as a whole. And that's what I want to do. So now that I have this dark, it's sort of talking to me about what I need to do up here. So I think the indigo is the best way to go to get some of the darks. I think I want to add some dark here. And again, I want to get this on the recording so that you see what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. No delineation between his head and the hat. It all falls into shadow. Boom. Not necessary. Doesn't have to, you don't have to do that. And I really want to build this yin yang thing going on. Dark on this side. I like the way the darks appeared on that side. And I just want to make sure the darks go equally dark on this side. Maybe the band of his hat a little bit more. maybe even lose a little bit of the shadow of his neck. Add a little drama there. I like it. Now I'm really waiting for this to dry because I want to suggest the guitars. I want to make sure I have enough dark marks on his face. So I'm just going to go in and make sure the darks are dark enough. Side of his nose maybe needs a little bit more. Couldn't do this before. Underneath that left nostril, a little bit darker there. On mine, you may not need it. I won't know till I take a look at everybody, but these little brushes, sometimes they hold a lot of water. You really need to wipe it off on your mat. The shadow's looking good. Building that shadow on the left side of his face just a little bit more. Same colors, dragon's blood and my blue. Feeling the drama coming out more. Maybe a little bit more right here. I'm really just looking and seeing what the painting needs. I can't do anything more on the shirt. That's just too wet. I could do a little bit more on the guitar. And his arm, certainly. Dragon's blood on the top of his arm. And then the right side goes into the light, so you really don't have to do a whole lot. People are going to know it's his arm because we're going to delineate the shirt a little bit more here where the sleeve is. You don't have to give your audience all the answers. You could let them figure things out for themselves. Okay, this side is damp. This side is a little drier because I used less water on this side. So I'm just going to quickly go in and indicate a guitar. Again, you're not going to be where I am. That's fine. I just want to have it on the recording for you. And this side, I'll see if I could do a little bit on this side. Might be cool, actually, this is a cool idea, is to paint the other side of the guitar that's got the shadow on it. Let me see how that works. It's cool as you get to see me do it first and see if you like it. And then if you like it, you could do it on yours. I like it. And there is a point where your painting needs to rest and you need to, not keep working on it also. That is kind of where I'm at with this right now, is I need to stand back from it a little bit to see what I need to do next. May not be too much. Certainly I need more work on his shirt, just to delineate certain parts of it. And what I mean by that is it's still a little damp, but taking my indigo and just going into some areas with some shadows, getting things to pop out a little bit. Things like that. It's just a little too wet to do it, but I wanted to just show that to you. I want to soften these guitars a little bit with a little bit of water. I want a lost edge here. I just decided I want to lose an edge here. So I'm just going to add color till I lose that mark. Why? I don't know. Something's telling me I don't need it. I'd have to go a little further with that one, but we'll see. Just got a little outlining maybe, and like just a little bit over described, and I don't think I needed it. This is where you're painting and you're making decisions, what your painting needs to be a success. A little darker right there. I don't know why. Something's telling me to do that. And I've mentioned this before, I do have the benefit of looking at my computer screen that is projecting this vertically for me. So I almost get to stand back and look at it without standing up or putting it vertical. I get to stand back from it and take a look at it. I feel that I really want this to rest right now and just come back to it. I think I need some more shadow on this side of his face. That's what I'm thinking. But I'm going to let it rest for a moment. So that's tonight's portrait. I hope you had a good time doing it. Learn a little bit about, what you need, the marks you need, the marks you don't need. Stand back from it. Make sure you just hold it vertical. And I got a little bit more work to do on him, but basically Howie Emerson. So I hope you like it, Howie. We were listening to his music live while we were painting. So if you like what you heard, go to howardemerson.com and maybe order his CD and let him know you saw his portrait and you tried it. All right. Well, talk to you guys soon. It's Jan Guarino, Fearless Watercolors, and I'll see you soon. Bye now.